Can we start?
Okay. Namaskar, everyone. I apologize for being slightly delayed. Today is the third in series of the. Actually, this has been a long series, but and the comparative religions, etc. This is sort of third in series, and by Professor Shiv Chaturvedi ji. So I'm sure it is going to be very exciting talk, and all of you will enjoy it. So I will invite Professor Chaturvedi ji to please take over from here and get started on your wonderful talk.
Namaskar to everyone. And can I share the screen, please?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namo Namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namaha. Om Angirasaya Namo Namaha. Om Kapilaya Namo Namaha. Om Gargaya Namo Namaha. Om Vedabhyasaya Namo Namaha. Om Dharmaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Gitaya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Radha Krishnabhyam Namo Namaha. समस्त मात्र शक्ति को नमन, समस्त उपस्थित श्रोताओं को नमन, समस्त चराचर जगत को नमन, सभी मानवों को नमन, सभी मुसलमानों को नमन, सभी ईसाइयों को नमन, सभी यहूदियों को नमन, सभी चराचर जगत को नमन करता हूं. And I would like to especially express my gratitude to Sri Barma ji, Rajiv Barma ji, and Dr. Ravinder Kaul for all their help, support, and guidance. So let us start this journey, my dear listeners, by keeping an open mind and open heart. And this journey is not a simple journey to make, comparing, contrasting some of the foundational ideas of the Abrahamic traditions with the Sanatan Dharmic traditions. We have been talking about in a few lectures, and this is the part of the series. Those who would like to get involved more in research and development, they are more than welcome. Contact me. We have to work together, learn together, move together to address the fundamental issues and how they are being talked about, how they are being implemented, how they are being in the turmoil. India and Hindus and Hindutva, they are on the crossroads. Keep that in mind. And since the audience has a wide variety of experiences, different levels of experiences, my talk may not directly reach fully to their understanding, and apologize for that. I'm using technical terminology and actual statements, how we have responded, how the India has responded to these threats for before independence and after independence, and what those threats are, and what we have to be aware of, and how we eventually going to fight out, stand up with the full force of understanding, manasa vacha karmana. With this note, give you a little preview of the Islam. Few features in the Islam, in Christianity. It is He, Allah, who created heavens and earth in 6 days. I have highlighted a lot of things, so please keep in mind. Then He sat upon the throne. He knows what penetrates into the earth and what comes out of it, what comes down from the heaven, ascends to it. He is with you wherever you are. Allah perceives whatever you do. Quran 57.4. Abrahamic religions, age of creation is about 6,000 to 10,000 years old. It's a linear, one-time event. And when it is going to end, nobody can be sure for it. And their traditions have talked about several times apocalypse. And during Jesus' time, as soon as Jesus was put on brutal punishment on the cross, that will be the end of the world. And several other times it has been projected, forecasted, never happened. Vedic wisdom, age of universe is 311.04 trillion years. It's a Mahakalp, it's a cyclic in nature. Age of our solar system, according to Vedic wisdom, 4.56 billion years. Contemporary cosmology, age of universe 13.8. Also, there are a lot of theories, and one of the theories really is cyclic in nature. Age of sun 4.603 billion years, and age of earth 4.543 billion years. If you compare and contrast this information, one piece of information, not the entire world views, then you figure it out where the truth is. Role of mosque in Islam, very, very important to understand. Most of us Hindus and non-Hindus do not understand because we have not been told about it. Honestly and authentically. Here I'm going to give you the expression and the statement that are very authentic. In the age of most noble messenger, and for some time afterwards, the mosque was a place of political gatherings. Correct statement. The mihrab was a place not only for preaching, but also war against both the devil within man and the tyrannical powers without. This kind of war originates in the mihrab. It is undeniable, requires no reminder that the great religion of Islam, the religion of divine unity, destroys polytheism, unbelief, idolatry, and self-worship. We come in one of those categories, in all those categories, those who do not believe in Islam, only Allah, only one prophet, then we are to be destroyed, and this destruction must start with the mosque. All assemblies of Muslims for congregational prayer, Friday prayer, and especially precious gathering of the Hajj have many political aspects. On Friday's sermon, no more than surah for a Quran or prayer for a beef bird, entire armies used to be mobilized by the Friday sermon and proceed directly from the mosque to the battlefield. And man who sets out from the mosque to go to battlefield will fear only God, not poverty or hardship. His army will be victorious and triumphant. When you look at the Friday sermons given in that age, the sermons of commander of the faithful upon whom be peace, you see that their purpose was to set people in motion, to arouse them to fight and sacrifice themselves for Islam, to restore the suffering of the people of this world, to resolve suffering of the people of the world. All the people under serious suffering, if you do not follow and accept blindly the faith of Islam. And this is the reference none other than these declaration writing by Imam Khomeini, Imam Rasulullah al-Masbi al-Khomeini, the revolutionary leader of Iran. Why, interestingly enough, his grandfather, Sayyid Ahmed, was known as Al-Hindi, lived also in India, where a distant branch of his family is said to still exist in India. Very interesting. Let's look at the jihads. I have categorized, and few others have categorized under stages. There are 4 or 5 stages. Stage number 1, Islamic community is small. Whenever in any country, any group, Islamic community is small, they will refrain from fighting, but will continue a silent jihad that will give impression to others that Islam is a religion of peace. Second stage, after immigration to Medina, with territory under control, they starting of self-defense. Impression is Islam not aggressive, but Islam is fighting for self-defense. Third stage, fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day of judgment, not hold that forbidden within which have been forbidden by Allah and Apostle, until they pay jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. Fight with them, kill them, destroy them by every means possible. Stage 4, founding of ultra-Orthodox Baha'ism and Muslimism around 1740. They argued that even Muslim guilty of unorthodoxy could and should be killed. They slaughtered thousands of Sufis and Sunnis, polytheists, atheists, idolaters, and others. Fifth stage, I have added this fifth stage, current worldwide terror and killing and upheavals, and also several manifestations of this jihad mentality or idea, love jihad, food jihad, spitting jihad, just to name a few. All kinds of jihadi activities all around the world against everyone. The jihad is being fought against Jews from the very, very beginning, 13th century, or even earlier than that. And of course, against Christians, against every non-Muslim civilization. Please note, there's a long list of such brutal, torturous, and heinous acts against non-believers and idolaters throughout the history of Islam since its inception. If we have not gone to Sisganj Gurdwara in Chandni Chowk, New Delhi, must visit as a pilgrim. You will know, and you must know, the history of Sisganj Gurdwara. Is Islam a religion of peace? I've been focusing in several lectures to theological doctrines. I'm not going to repeat those, but practically, is Islam a religion of peace? By looking at these 5 stages of jihad. It is up to us to decide, think through, and get ready to defend our civilization. An estimate 80 million Hindus killed in the total jihad against India. And the country of India today is only half the size of the ancient India. Due to jihad, the mountains near India are called the Hindu Kush, meaning the funeral pyre of the Hindus. And a majority of Hindus, uneducated and educated, do not know about the origin of the name Hindu Kush. Please note, it's the most horrific, unparalleled Holocaust. Konrad Elst, among others, have written about it, talked about it, given data about it, history, authentic history about it. You can look at those. Root causes. The question has always been raised by all of us, including the people who are not directly affected yet by jihad, that what are the root causes of radical Islam? You look at the entire Islamic tradition, all the hadiths, surahs, Qurans, you will come out to the conclusion. That conclusion is written here. It's not anyone else other than Dr. Tariq Hamid, an Egyptian native. He was at one time an active member of radical Islamic organization in Egypt. He got out. Fortunately, he is still living. He has been very vocal after getting out of the organization. He has also testified before many government organizations, including US Congress and political leaders. And he tells us what are the the root cause of radical Islam are in fact embedded within the religion and are being taught by the bulk of mainstream Islamic teachers around the world. That is his verdict, the person who was within the center jihad, and he was fortunate enough to get out without being massacred and murdered. And he had been speaking against the very foundation of Islamic theology. So when people talk about that, well, these are not the, these are perverted movements. No, they are the authentic movements. My dear listeners, there have been studies, the regions that led the people to embrace Islam. These are the 5 regions have been specified by one of the very authentic study by Rizvi, Muslim revivalist movements in northern India in the 16th and 17th century, Agra University Press, 1965. Also, K.S. Lal, Indian Muslims. Who are they? The Voice of India publication in 1993. They have identified the 5 important regions behind embracing Islam in India, and I think worldwide. Fear of death and torture and brutality. Fear of their families being enslaved, raped, brutally tortured. Propagation of Islam on the part of Muslims. Sufis were instrumental also in propagating the Islam within India and other places around the world. A lust for obtaining mobji, meaning pensions, rewards, or booty, and tasu, bigotry or superstition. What the mullah says, the final virgin and goal. Keep this in mind, this is the bottom line. That's the long-term goal. If you do not trust these declarations, then examine India's history, Persian history, and wherever the ancient civilization were annihilated. Read carefully and make your opinion if you want to. Allah has mandated the lands of infidels to his last prophet, who in turn has bequeathed them to the Ummah. India continues to be Darul Harb. It is our Allah ordained duty to convert into Darul Islam. That is the bottom line. Our scriptures prescribe a total description of kafirs, idolater, infidel. Allah is very jealous of his own position as the only one worthy of worship. He cannot stand the sight of these Hindu idols imitating his majesty, trying to share his divinity. These idols have to be destroyed and trodden under the feet of Mormons in order to propitiate Allah. The temples which house these idols have to be demolished and converted into places worthy of our own way of worship. Reference Sitaram Goel. Hindu defense of Hindu society. This is what is being taught worldwide, including in India. And this is what is the foundation of the Islamic tradition. This is also foundation of similar one of the Christian tradition. They want to destroy every other civilization by converting them to Christianity at any cost, by deceptions, by force, by coercion, by all means possible. They have not been so violent lately after the 17th century and 18th century in the Western world and the regions I'm not going to address today. The rise of science and technology and rise of religion, enlightened men, they have also fought among themselves. The very, very long war between Protestants and Catholics. History is full of most torture, heinous crimes and bloody wars within those Abrahamic traditions. Only the Jewish tradition has not waged war against anyone to convert them. They do not have a concept of conversion. And India has been ignoring the above sinister vision and exercising appeasement policies. And I will talk about more as we go. Look at the powerful indictment of the Christianity by Michael Martin, a very distinguished. He was a professor of philosophy at Boston University. He has dissected and decoded among those thinkers who were brought up in the Christian tradition, the real theological questions that not had been answered. Jesus' ethical teachings that are very much used in propagation of Christianity in India and other places. assuming that Jesus' ethical teachings are contained in synoptic gospels, a dubious assumption given the evidence of early Christian epistle writers. A large part of teaching seems irrelevant or indefensible to morally sensitive people, or even to many contemporary Christians. Jesus' otherworldliness, harshness, demand of blind obedience, and vindictiveness are not only morally unacceptable, but in conflict with the claim that he is morally perfect. Moreover, his tacit approval of slavery and the unclarity of his teaching on other matters, for example, poverty, makes him an inappropriate ethical model. So when we are defending conversion or coercion against the Christianity, we do not have to be apologetic. We have to immediately quote from their own Christian traditions, their authentic theologians, and critique. This is what they said. You tell me, can you defend yourself against this indictment? Some critical comments regarding the central doctrines of Christianity. I have given my lot of comments throughout these series of talks, so I'm not repeat. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to give you new, fresh, based on the book that I just told you about. It is significant that none of the official creeds of Christendom state explicitly where there was an incarnation, why there was incarnation, why Jesus as the incarnation of Son of God died on the cross, a brutal death, tortured death, why he was resurrected from the dead, and why in the order to be saved one must have faith in him. If after only nearly 2 centuries of the greatest minds of Christendom have not produced an acceptable theory that connects the incarnation, resurrection, salvation, these doctrines have problem in their own right, is surely the most powerful indictment against Christianity. Dubious doctrines that remain unexplained are surely less credible than dubious ones that have been explained. The whole world views are fundamentally different, contradictory, antithetical, and I will call them very primitive as compared to the fundamental foundational principles of Sanatana Dharmic traditions. The cosmological, my goodness, I talked about the age of universe. I gave you number, I can give you number hundreds of points, including what you call the end point. How the world is going to end, when it's going to end. On each and every point, the Hindu Sanatana Dharma tradition cannot support, cannot accept their theological notions because they are full of agyan. In their world, the earth was at the center, not the sun of this our planetary system. Damaging impact on this ideology, theory, and practice on the Hindu civilization. I'm listing down some of them. Conversion to and acceptance of Christianity and Islam blindly. Even our so-called religious leaders for hundreds of years have not addressed these issues. They did not get themselves fully acquainted with the fundamental ideas and practices of the Christianity and Islam. They could not defend the Hindu worldview. All wishy-washy, superficial, that soon we are going to be Vishwaguru can only be an empty slogan without understanding the Vishwa, the whole world, and their ideas and the practices. Loss of dignity and willful ignorance and corruption, pollution, uprooting of ideals, values, and wisdom of Hindu heritage under the imposed categories, classification, and narratives of monotheistic, Abraham, linearly historic worldviews. We have modified, we have superimposed these ideas on Hindu worldviews. As a result, we have corrupted and uprooted our worldviews. And I will discuss some of those points as I go along, my dear listeners. Loss of motivation, desires to bring out the new paradigms based on the foundational doctrines of Vedic worldview in various domains that include social, intellectual, and polity. We are struggling with. We don't know how to address the problem of secularity. I'm going to talk about that too. We could not even find proper terms like Rashtra Dharma, Raj Dharma, Rajniti. We forgot about the Raj Adharma, Rashtra Adharma, and Rajniti, which is so much prevalent in nowadays and far before the independence, political independence of India, or after political independence of India. Accepting the propaganda like this one, Hinduism, otherworldly, life-denying fatalist, as they believe in the theory of karma, predetermination of the present human condition due to karmas performed in the last. On the other hand, Islam is life-affirming, full of active life. This is the propaganda, and we accepted this propaganda ourselves. Look at the theory of karma discussed and described by many of the so-called religious thinkers in India, philosophers in India. They even go around and around circular argument without providing the insight based on the original scriptures and karma siddhant. This is the tragedy. Hindu response. Now I'm going to talk about Hindu response. Hinduism, Dharma, Neo-Vedanta, Indian Constitution, secularism, search for unity and equality, appeasement to non-Hindus. My dear listeners, India or Bharat at the crossroads. Forces of hatred, disharmony, and breaking India and its glorious civilizations are on the march, getting stronger and stronger every day. Globalization has produced another divisive platform to help in bringing out the end of only remaining ancient civilization on this planet. Hindu and Hinduism, how it came out to be. We'll not go much about it. Let's look at how Hinduism became. Sanatan Dharma became Hinduism. Nathaniel Brassey Hallhead, 1776, wrote a book called Code of Gentoo Laws, was gradually supplanted in the 19th century by the references to the religion of Hindus. Hinduism with double O, Oxford English Dictionary, 1829. It refers in the Bengali volume 45 magazine, and also Max Muller, the German Indologist, 1858. Dermot Killingly has done a lot of work, historical detective work, and he has referred to Ram Mohan Roy in 1816. Mr. Roy was probably the first Hindu to use the word Hinduism, probably. One hardly needs mention the extent to which Roy's conception of Hindu religion was conditioned by European, Muslim, and Unitarian theological references. Ironically, there is a considerable reason, therefore, for the frequency with which Western scholars have described Roy as the father of modern India. Richard King, a recent work done by Dr. Richard King at Oxford. So we have two fathers of modern India: Mahatma Gandhi, Rashtrapita, and Ram Mohan Roy, Rashtrapita of modern India. And a non-Hindu distinguished thinker and a researcher is talking about the Roy conception of Hindu religion was conditioned by, I will say, actually the grafting on the Hindu world wisdom has been going on for a long, long time. Look at the Wilhelm Halfas, the professor, India and Europe. Read this book, An Essay in Understanding. Very distinguished thinker and philosopher. We cannot reduce the meaning of dharma to one general principle, nor is there one single translation that will cover all these uses. Nevertheless, there is a coherence in this variety. It reflects the elusive yet undeniable coherence of Hinduism itself, its peculiar unity in diversity. That unity in diversity has been largely forgotten by largely Hindus among Hindus, based on the Sanatan dharmic principles. We have borrowed and implemented and grafted the superficial slogan of unity in the diversity. To accept modern Western epistemological theories without highlighting their cultural and social particularities, to remain within a long and well-established tradition of Western arrogance about the superiority of Western ways of understanding the world. I have personal encounters with some of the very dignitaries in India and the West in various areas. Personal encounters. And I can see that how even the Western thinkers, independent thinkers, have raised the same voices. That yes, India has lost its own tradition for a long, long time. Could not bring out the new articulation and narratives based on their fundamental principles. We failed collectively. This is my little understanding. And of course, you can call me crazy, or you can call me an idiot. That's your freedom you have. Then what is the response of Neo-Vedanta, which are considered to be major interpreters of Hindu Dharma? And they consider Hindu Dharma as a Hindu religion. And look at the Richard King I was talking about, 2007, Orientalism and Religion, Post-Colonial Theory, India and the Mystic East. In an Asian context, the Western influenced Neo-Vedanta of Indians such as the Ram Mohan Roy, Mahatma Gandhi, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, Radhakrishnan, Vinoba Bhave has played seminal role in construction of contemporary notions of Hinduism as a universal religion. This influence is so prevalent that today what most religious education courses mean by Hinduism is colonially filtered and retrospective bantazation of Indian religion. Look at one example here from Swami Vivekananda. The salvation of Europe depends on a rationalistic religion and Advait non-duality, the oneness idea of the impersonal God. Is the only religion that can have any hold on any intellectual paper. Is this the whole Satyam? This is the whole Satyam? I can emphatically no. And you will see. Sarva Dharma Sambhav. Indian scholars and reformers such as Bhagwan Das, Pandit Sundarlal, Rahul Sanskritain, Binoba Bhave, Ishwar Allah Tero Naam. This is the slogan given by Mohan Das Karamchand Gandhi. Ishwar Allah Tero Naam. While the followers Allah say Ishwar is a fake God, and followers of the fake God, false God, must be annihilated. And we have such a unique tolerance that we think, no, Allah is mine too. Look at the dichotomy and contradiction, fundamental. They will not accept us. Us means, well, I won't talk about the Hindu worldview. They will not accept. We are willing to accept even the agyana, the deep ignorance of other traditions. They are willing to accept as truth. We are willing to be, we must be willing to respect them, all other traditions, because Mama Ivanso Jeev Loke Jeev Bhuta Sanatana. Bas Daiva Kutumbakam. Every great principles coming out of the Hindu worldview embraces the whole world, whole cosmos, living and non-living entity. But we cannot accept these doctrines as Satyam. They fall in the category of Asatyam. Intentions may be to sustain Hindu-Muslim harmony, but all these blissful ideas are false. And Christian Islamic religions ideology do not accept them, neither in theory nor in practice. All these similar ideas reflect the sense of either willful ignorance and or poor understanding of Christian Islamic worldviews and their historical consequences. The state of affairs continues among the majority of Hindu dharmic preachers, teachers, leaders, political leaders class, intellectuals, newsmakers, intellectuals, just to name a few classes. A new paradigm has emerged in India and emerging forcefully, Asatyame Vijayate, through slogans and propaganda. So Satyame Vijayate is being converted to Asatyame Vijayate. During a struggle for independence after, give you one example. This is my opinion and opinion of many others, who have independently thought about independence of India 47. This historic events were really a transfer of political power from White Sahib to Brown Sahib, imbued with the colonial slave mentality, which we still have. And I'm one of those who was educated under the Brown Sahib slavery. Change of national song. Before 47, during this struggle for independence, the Bankim Chand Chatterjee, the great Bankim Chand Chatterjee, Bande Mataram song. After the independence, it became Janagarman Adnaik, concession to Muslim susceptibilities, creating extra constitutional provisions, minority majority binary, and policies of appeasement. These are our responses, part of the responses. Now we have introduced another term called the secularism or pseudo-secularism. Secular and secularity, originally Latin word, means belonging to age denoted period of 100 years. Term secularism was first used by British writer George Hoylke in 1851, promoting a social order separate from religion. Religions have been, the Abrahamic religions, their concept of God and humanity have been fundamentally separate anyway. This separation was fundamental, most basic. So this separation has to be enforced because the historical fights and wars based on the idea of my religion, my God, your God. Secularism, belief system, wall of separation between religion and state, anti-clericalism, atheism, naturalism, communism, humanism. Each of these terms needs separate classes to be defined. And, if future, time comes in, I will do that. A violent history of secularism, horror of 30-year war in religion between Protestant and Catholic, 1618 to 48. Look at the history, how the ideas are translated in the practice, how they are used in the practice. Control of state by Christian state, Christian church, state, the secular arm of the church, worldly affairs of individual society, salvation were full control of church on all affairs. 18th century, rise of enlightenment and proclamation of death of God created the atmosphere for secularism and secularity. What are the synonyms? Civil, materialistic, worldly, lay, profane, temporal, earthly, denoting attitude, activities, other things that have no religious or spiritual basis at all. Complete and rigid separation of the religion and the worldly affairs. In pluralistic society, secularism in India. My dear listeners, my talk will continue till what you call the starting 8 o'clock, will continue till 9:15, 1 hour 15 minutes. Then we will have time for question and answer. So please bear with me. I apologize. You are so wonderful, so beautiful. You are very distinguished personalities, willing to listen. The ancient wisdom and comparisons of the worldviews of different civilizations through new understanding and narratives. India is a pluralistic society. We all agree that. Some critical observation and comments that are going to be followed. Preamble of Constitution of India, the original reads like this: we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity to promote among all fraternities, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity of the nation. In our constituent assemblies, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. Please note also, the assembly had consciously avoided the expression secularism. It was introduced by fraudulent 42nd Constitutional Amendment in 1976 during infamous emergency with the entire opposition in jail. They discussed twice that brought in the concept of secularism in the preamble of Constitution. It failed during the Constitution Assembly. And now preamble reads democratic, secular, socialist, and representation of Act 1951 was amended to make it obligatory on every registered party to swear by socialism and secularism. So when you see on even the BJP party, the website in original preamble, you will notice those two terms as well, even if we do not like those. Socialism and secularism, they have to be there. It's a Representation of People Act 1951. During Janta rule, there were attempts made to dismantle 42nd Amendment. The Constitution 45th Amendment Bill 1978 was duly passed in Lok Sabha, and the clause 44 of this bill sought to be amend Article 366 to introduce definition of secularism, socialism. And the new definition were tried. Expression republic as qualified the expression secular means a republic in which there is an equal respect for all religions. Notice the language, equal respect for all religions. It does not say equality of all religions. Very important. Sarma Dharma Sambhav is called the equality of all religions. This is called equal respect for all religions. The expression republic qualified by expression socialist means a republic in which there is freedom for all forms of exploitation, social, political, economic. Please note, this clause of amendment was voted down in Rajya Sabha because Congress was in majority. Never passed. So the result is the term remained undefined in law. Some represented attempts to define the term secularism. Supreme Court Justice Ahmadi. The term secularism is a very elastic term, not capable of precise definition and perhaps left undefined. Justice G.S. Verma, who wrote the majority view at Ayodhya Act 1993, after demolition of Babri structure on 6 December 1992. And they traced back meaning of secularism that relied upon an address by Dr. Sankal Dayal Sharma, President of India. Secularism denotes Sarva Dharma Sambhav, an approach of tolerance, understanding of the equality of all religions. So that is the term. Additional comments by other judges. Religion as a spiritual attainment. Do we know what is spiritual? We do not know. We talk about spirituality. I'm going to give lecture on spirituality, religions versus Adhyatma Yoga, Dharma. Dharma is the righteous foundation of social order. So here religions and Dharma also distinguished by many judges. India understands the word secular. The benchmark is Dr. Sankal Dayal Sharma, Vice President of India, most quoted, interpreted, and accepted by legal scholars, intellectuals, political leaders. Others is a reference to the address of President of India. Secularism in India ethos while delivering Dr. Zakir Hussain Memorial Lecture in Vishwa Bharati Shantiniketan in 1989. And this is what very important. Be in India, I'm giving some excerpt from there, some quotations from there. Be in India, however, extends secularism to donate Sarva Dharma Sambhav, an approach of tolerance, understanding, equality of all religions. Sarva Dharma Sambhav dogma was also M.K. Gandhi's dogma. Equality of religion, this is my comment, a very fallacious notion. Dharma became religion. Dharma was degraded and uprooted to become religion, an Abrahamic religion, and then further degradation took place. There, these Abrahamic religious traditions are equal, same, identical with this degraded idea of Hindu religion. It's a very fallacious notion, and this is also look at the historical contemporary reality of the worldwide terrorism, forced conversion, brutal violence. To expect in this regard are noteworthy. Okay, these are comment. First, the initial appearance of Christianity, Islam. This is the Dr. Sankal Dayal Sharma's address. The initial appearance of Christianity or Islam or Zoroastrianism in India and their establishment on mainland in India did not occur as a result of military conquest or threat of conquest. So the Islam did not come to India as a religion of conquest. Can you believe that history? My goodness. Second perspective, even more important, Christian, Islam, Zoroastrian brought with them a spiritual humanistic thought, harmonious and in fact identical to the core ideas of Western religious thought in India, exemplified by basic beliefs of Vedic, Vedantic, Buddhist and Jain philosophy. So it means our philosophical understanding of the world views are identical with the core ideas of Abrahamic tradition, and my comment, both of them are factually wrong and detrimental to India's dharmic tradition. Factually wrong. Any independent thinker can look at those worldviews. I've been discussing those worldviews and throughout my lecture series. Fundamentally different. If you believe that the creation is only 4,000, 6,000 years old, if you believe that a Messiah or a prophet will come and dig up all the graves where the bare bones are sitting and wrap up the new flesh in them and bring them back, make a judgment, bring them back to hell or heaven, if you believe in that, then of course we all are ready to convert. What the problem with the conversion? They are identical. Why Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma and other jurists do not say that? If they are equal, if they are identical, just convert. What the problem with the conversion? Just convert them overnight. Look what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says. He has observation. What a Hindu is to Muslim. To the Muslim, a Hindu is a kafir. A kafir is not worthy of respect. He is low-born and without status. This is why the country which is ruled by kafir is Darul Harb to a Musliman. Given this, no further evidence seems to be necessary to prove that the Muslim will not obey Hindu government. The basic feelings of difference and sympathy which predispose the persons to obey the authority of government do not simply exist in the Islamic tradition. Only Sharia is acceptable. 1300 years old Sharia, 1400 years old Sharia is acceptable. Does not change. It's a rigidly fixed ever. Quran is fixed ever in the hard stone. They cannot accept any constitution of any country, and they have to convert the whole world to Islam. This is correct understanding of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, along with many others in the Indian struggle for independence. Swami Vivekananda vision. He said it's given to Hindus by destiny to discover the idea of universal validity of all faith and ways of life and share it with the rest of the world. This inclusive idea, which validates all gods, faith, people, and way of life, is the ultimate destination of journey of humanity and final guarantee of global national peace. My comment, this noble vision can never be realized either in theory or in practice, when the powerful notions of inclusion, equality, and appeasement act together. The worldviews, ideas, practices of non-Hindu religions, they are not dharmas, are foundationally contradictory, antithetical, as well as superficial to the Hindu visionary wisdom. The above articulation, with due respect to all the stalwarts, bow down to Vivekananda ji or Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma or any justices. But I cannot accept their theological ideas, basic ideas about the Sanatana Dharma tradition. Above articulation of the vision does not reflect a sense of, does also reflect a sense of ignorance and fallacy. Similarly, Vinoba Bhave said, Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth everywhere is the same. Devotees worship it in different forms. Meaning one, the thought of the truth everywhere is the same. We have understood only part of it. Others have understood the other part of it. These are the two meanings. Therefore, according to him, different religious thoughts found in various religions like Hindus, Buddhists, Parsi, Jains, Yahudis, Islam, Christian, many others, can be assimilated and synthesized for creating religious harmony. This wishful thinking, both the meanings of Ekam Sat Brahma Bahuda Vadanti are inaccurate, misleading, and factually incorrect. What a wishful thinking, but devoid of adequate understanding of Abraham religious foundational doctrines. It amounts to an aspect of intellectual appeasement, nothing more than that. How the Hinduism has been defined by Supreme Court bench headed by Justice Gajendra Gadkar, the highest body of legal profession in India. They are mentioning in their deliberation, this is the judgment in January 1966. They do accept extremely difficult in defining the Hindu tradition. Then how they define, still they define how they define. When we think of Hindu religion, we find it difficult, if not impossible, to define Hindu religion or even adequately describe it. Unlike other religions in the world, Hindu religion does not claim any one prophet. It does not worship any one God. It does not subscribe to any one dogma. It does not believe in any one philosophic concept. It does not follow any one set of religious rites or performances. In fact, does not appear to satisfy the narrow traditional features of any religion or creed. This is correct. It may broadly be described as a way of life and nothing more. Can you, my comment? They are very learned, brilliant, honorable legal minds. Yet the above narrative is totally superficial, inadequate, insubstantial, misleading, and inaccurate. Hindu religion, not dharma, is not this, not that. Then what is it? In one line, it may be broadly described as a way of life and nothing more. That is the positive definition of the Hindu dharmic tradition by the brilliant people. With due respect to them, I totally disagree with everything. None this, not this, not this, not this. You are in the context, you are defining the Hindu dharmic tradition with reference to the Abrahamic traditions. Neti, this is not this, this is not this, this is not. Then what it is? Simply one life, way of life. A way of life. Every other religion has its own way of life. So what does it mean? The above calculation is shocking to me with a deep sadness. If I tell you something, you will say, yeah, this guy is stupid. I have to listen to the justices and the leaders who are supposed to give me more authentic understanding than the stupid guy Shiv Chaturvedi. That's what your reaction is going to be. But with my humble request, please do consider my voice as well, to listen to, think through, to read independently by yourself. I will give you all the references, what the authentic understanding can be, how it has to be recalculated, which has not been done yet. To Radhakrishnan, to many, Hinduism seems to be named without a content. Is it a museum of beliefs, a medley rites, or a mere map or geographical expression? Hinduism has steadily absorbed the customs and ideas of people with whom it has come into contact and thus been able to maintain its supremacy and youth. What a manifold tragedy of Sanatana Dharma Kshetra in the hands of many such intellectual luminaries. This is the tragedy of highest degree. That describing the superficial superficially the way of Hindu ways of living to achieve what? What is that unique Hindu way of living? They are not talking about it. Simply making Hindu way of living. Describing the exterior Sanskritic celebration of those fundamental notions. Eko ham bahusyama. The one became all and everything that exists. ना जब सत था ना असत था. भगवान गीता में कहती मैं सत भी हूं असत भी हूं, मैं न सत हूं ना असत हूं, और मैं सत और असत से परे हूं. When you bring all these together is the broadest definition of the concept of Godhead, Bhagwan Swarup. Another very, very important, say Guru Murthy ji, one of the outstanding thinkers of the day, his speech at IIT Madras in 2003. Secularism is an intra-Christian phenomena. It has no application outside Christianity at all. Secularism resolved the fight between two powerful persons of the king and archbishop. The multi-religious idea, multi-religious living, multi-religious culture, multi-religious fabric, or multi-religious structure were unknown outside India. 50, look at the example, is a authentic historical example. 56,000 Baha'is were butchered in 1 hour in Tehran. What was their the blasphemy? They believed in the same Quran, in the same Muhammad. The only difference was that they said that Muhammad might come in another form again. And that was their only fault, and they were all butchered. This is the real application of the theological doctrine that the Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet on this planet, and Allah is the only true God. Fundamentalism is a virtue of Abrahamic religions. Is a research done at the University of Chicago University. And they have said the fundamentalism is a virtue of Abrahamic religion is not applicable to Hindu faith at all. What about the Indian intellectuals? Day in, day out, they keep abusing us as a fundamentalist, communalist, that we are anti-secular. It is being gulped down everyone, including those IITs, IIMs, lawyers, police officials, journalists, politicians. Look at this intellectual bankruptcy. My comment, this is also blatant dishonesty with hatred and support of an agenda to annihilate Hindu civilization. It is these Marxist, secularist intellectuals who will certify whether somebody is modern or traditional, backward or secular, or communal, progressive or aggressive. They were running an open-air university, issuing certificates everyone. All these references you will find in the reference Supreme Court on Hindu extract and comments by Professor Valapte, big volume, India First Foundation, published in 2005. So what happened? Concluding remarks, Sanatan Dharma Kshetra become religions, the greatest tragedy. Consequence, deep dark ignorance, mental slavery, ignoring marking of the entire field of Hindu wisdom tradition. Dharma place, secularism, pseudo-secularism emerged due to the above equation. They remain undefined, grafted on Indian nation, her people. Dharma was denigrated, polluted, and uprooted by defining it as a religion. National level, we have never invoked in the constitution Rashtra Dharma Kshetra, Raj Dharma Kshetra, next layer Rajneet Kshetra. Major concern for India, The grievance of majority of Hindus and that rules, regulation, restrictions are applicable only to their religious institution. Islam, Christian institutions get free ride. No implementation of uniform civil code. Appeasement of radical Orthodox Muslim elements. Propagation of religion and large-scale religious conversion by Muslims and Christians, especially in the tribal belts among poor people using fraudulent means. Provision of unjustified protection to minority educational institution. Policies and action against the Hindu civilization heritage and ethos are deemed to be secular. Whatever is against the Hindu worldview, Hindu ways of life, of enlightenment, must be considered to be non-secular. Everything against Hindu is a secular. This is the declaration. Look at the recent controversy of hijab. And the Hindu girls are talking about when we sit together in class, there should be feeling of equality. We are all friends. We do not need to get any discrimination in that one is Muslim, other one is not. Till today, we did not even know that some of these girls are Muslim. All of a sudden, they have started wearing hijab. Hindu girls in Karnataka explain why they are protesting against hijab. Anyway, so what are the found very religions very entangled, and they are ready for political power. Ultimate aim is the political, theocratic power, authoritarian. Political, theocratic power. How to achieve? Through convergence, subjugation by all means, including invasions, loot, slavery, slaughtering, abduction, rape. Long, brutal, bloody, horrible history of interreligious wars, battles, consequences, annihilation of Greco-Roman pagan world by Christianity, annihilation of many Christian countries, Zoroastrians, Persian world, African continent, and conquer of greater part of India, that's Islamic empire. Perpetual Islamic jihad, based from its birth, will continue. Forced fraudulent conversion crusade by Christianity in Islam will continue. And what are the forces? Give me a couple of more minutes. I'm sorry, I apologize to all of you. Forces that actively promoting hatred, disharmony, divisive narratives, insidious motivation of eventually breaking India and highlighting Hindu civilization. And this is the collusion of ideological forces, internal and global. Communism, colonialism, secularism, blatant appeasement of Christian Muslims, their organization, institutions. Majority of educated yet ignorant, arrogant Hindus support the above forces through adopting their language, their ideas, and corresponding narratives. Hindu collectively had failed to uphold the required Rashtriya Chetna within the emergence of wide variety of identities historically for a long, long time. Probably this is the Kalchak. This is the Kalchak. This is the Kalchak. This is the Kalchak. And secularism, alien concept, not appropriate a single word in any Indian languages. I can name, I call it Asat Adharm, Rasdoi Adharm. It is valid for Abrahamic religions only. Pseudo-secularism is a fake secularism. Dharma creation a meaningless term. Interreligious equality, derogatory, confusing, conflicting, and meaningless. Just like soul and spirit we use in is so broadly used in common language and also in all kinds of news media, print media, and YouTube's soul and spirit. Soul and spirit are not the Atman or Purusha, breath or psyche. Spiritual meaningless should be Adhyatma Yoga Dharma we should be using. God or Lord, very inappropriate, use Paramatma, Purushottam, Parmeshwar, Parmeshwari, Brahman, Bhagwan as appropriate within the context. I'm not going to define yet. I will skip this. And finally, I will request to all together with my folded hands. Let us sing together. Let us dance together. Let us learn together. Let us eat together. Let us serve together. Let us celebrate together. And let us defend, enrich our Sanatan Dharma and Ras Dharma together. And this is what I call Lok Sangrah Karma Yoga Dharma. Otherwise, life is absurd, meaningless. And always remember, Yatra Yogi Sura Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Si Vijayor Bhutir Dhruvanitar Matar Mama. Can be inspired to become the Arjun, the great Pandava. Please rise up to get rid of mental slavery. Do Karma Yoga and re-establish a new enlightening humanity on the basis of Sanatan Yoga Dharma Kshetra. The basic principles on which the old foundational principles of Sanatan Dharma with new unfolding of the superstructure, exterior structure have to be done in order to realize this real meaning behind Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I bow down to you. I beg your pardon because I am a Banjara. I am an Avara, a bucolic wanderer. Gata jaye Banjara. Gata jaye Banjara. Gata jaye Banjara. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shiv Chaturvedi. This was a wonderful talk. Just want to make one comment before I start with questions. That comment is that the conversion should be seen as a cultural genocide and not a freedom of religion, because that's what has been used for very long period to destroy almost most of the old civilizations and the people together. So we should look at it as a cultural genocide. With that, I will go to Debosh Majumdar-ji. Please unmute yourself and ask the question.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you, yes.
So to Chaturvedi ji, namaskar.
Namaskar.
So you explained everything very well in your presentation. So what are the action items? What steps should be taken that will help improve the situation? What are the steps? What are your recommendations?
Thank you so much. My humble pranam to you. It's a great question. It's a very pertinent question. It has to be addressed. It has to be taken care of. Today, I do not have time in this talk. In future talk, I'm going to address that issue too. But let me give you briefly.
Yeah.
Whenever, if you look at historically, the Western world and our Eastern world, historically, when you want to defend ourselves, to re-establish our own eternal universal tradition, what is the first thing we have to do? First thing is the education. Education is not simply, bookish education. Wide, broadly speaking, because contemporary world is not the proclamation of a king, everything will change. No, here the democratic process. And democratic process is the education is important at every level. And all of you, all of us together with their own inner capacity, inner aptitude, have to propagate and have to put out this knowledge that this is what we are, this is what we want to achieve, and what these are the forces against us to annihilate us. We are not really talking about, also make sure we are talking about the principles and the practices. We are not talking about the individual members within those traditions. That's important. I'm not talking about at all, never prescribe that we are against the Muslims or Christians or anybody else. No, we say, Mamai vanso jeev loka jeev bhuta sanatana. We are saying the ignorance through which these people have been subjected to fight against us, that has to be demolished. Those ideologies have to be demolished, have to be taken care of. Education is the first. And education means manasa vacha karmana. Manasa vacha, through language, through printout media, through news media, through all kinds of media outlets. This has to be propagated properly. What we are, first thing, how we define what we are. Not blindly we are secular, non-secular. This terminology does not work from within our tradition. It is incorrect. See, manasa vacha, in families, in personal families, the education at every level has to be introduced. And Amari Benji Kamlesh Kapoor has already written one book. You have to look at this, see what it is, how it can be. And there are several others are coming up. I'm working also on a grand themes. And karmana. Karmana means follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. I am going to fight against these ideologies with full understanding what we are, with the Niskam Karma Yoga, without hatred, without revenge, but we are going to fight out those very ideas that the other parties are holding and acting against me. With this force. What force? Today we have force, what we call one of the forces that we are talking about is the force at the ballot box. In democracy, force at the ballot box. You can change the government, throw away all the leaders, bring the new leaders in, and this has to be accomplished in a democratic and satyam way and ahinsatmak way. That's the very, very powerful weapon we have. As a nation, we have to take care of all the powers we need. Economic powers, military powers, all weapons of highest grade and highest quality, and social power. We have to be united. We have been so much divided on caste, creed, this or that. I'm Bengali, you are Tamil Nadu, you are this or this. This is fundamentally accepting the other party's narratives is fundamentally wrong. We have to have diversity. Majumdarji, you are Majumdarji. Majumdarji has his own personality and I have my own personality, but we have personality based on the common understanding of the humanity and the Rashtra. This is important. This is important. And I have a lot of work. I've given a lot of lecture. So this is what is most important. Manasa vacha karma. If she becomes simply, sitting on the chair and talking about these ideas and discussing these ideas, we become arrogant. Actually, many Hindu intelligent people are so arrogant and so, so ignorant. And, they don't want to listen, what really the unified ground is through which diversity unfolds. Just like what are the seeded ground is through which different trees grow up. That unified ground have to be looked at. Otherwise, simply looking at the trees, you will be lost in the forest. You will say, well, every tree is different. No, every tree is not different. Every tree is grounded on the bhumi, on dharti. That's why we do dharti pujan. So several, look at the Hindu temples. What are the constituencies, Hindu temples in America or India? Have been teaching all these things that we are Akhand Bharat? Or how do we react or act against the invasions of all kinds? And, the intellectual invasion is the really very, very serious. So it has to be introduced in the temples, this education, in the all education, private organizations. We should approach all the dharmacharya, all the mahatmas. They have been doing great job, but providing unified front is the important. You know how many times there are 4 Sankarcharyas? Look at the history, how many times they have sat together and provided the guidelines. Think about it. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Unfortunately, it's a tragedy. It's not a disrespect to them. It's a tragedy. I call it a culture. It's a very, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not putting a blame. I'm telling this is a culture. Can this be continued? No. We have to come together. We have to come together. So all avenues we have to really taken care of. And not one can do. That's why Sahana Vaptu, Sahana Vunaktu, Sahaviriyam Karvavahe. All have to, based on your own expertise, your own Jivan Yatra, based on your own Seva Bhav. This is Seva Yoga Dharma. This is why I call Seva Yoga Dharma. We have to do it. And we have to do it right, starting from your home. Wherever you go in the parties should be converted also to address the idea that we are here talking about and the question that you have made. All parties should have a dedicated time through which we are going to talk about. Okay, how we can, the primary, how we can find unified ground that we can stand up against the divisive forces, demonic forces. They want to annihilate us. How do we stand up? In short, manasa, vacha, karmana. Very important. Actions have to be there. Wide variety of actions. So I will address the issues actually at the subtle ground. I will at the foundational ground. There are already voices coming up from within India and from outside of India. Not only by Indians, but also by thoughtful thinkers of the coming from non-Indian tradition, born in non-Indian tradition. These voices are coming from them too. They need protection too. In fact, I will tell you my history. I quizzed in many of the international conferences, national conferences, some of the people coming from the Western philosophy department, religion department, and I quizzed them. I said, why do you want to learn about the epistemology, theory of knowledge embedded in our Hindu tradition? Why do you want to think about it? Why do you want to talk about it? Why do you want to research on it? And they will tell me in private, well, because much superior, much enlightening, but I cannot say that in my publication or my talk because I then may lose my position and job. My dear, I will be willing to share the insights of how the academic world, how the educational world, how the propaganda world works. This is what the situation is. It's a fear of losing their position. And if we do not support those fundamental ideas, the truthful, satyam, 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 if we do not support fully those satyam, then I think those who are trying to keep satyam out will be very much held back because of the fear of their own lives and their families and friends. This is the situation we are in. Lot of ex-Muslims, for example, those who have left Muslim, those who want to leave the Islam, those who have left Christianity, those who want to leave the Christianity is a serious problem in the Western world. They do not know where to go. We do not provide input for them authentically. Do you see what I'm talking about? This has to be done. Yeah, welcome them and give them the proper understanding that you are a human being. Hindu worldview is a worldview based on the human potential. You are at the center of the universe. You are the divine within yourself. You don't want to recognize that's your problem, but yes, this is what you are. So it's not a conversion. Conversion term is really a derogatory term, demeaning term. It is the transformation, bringing the agyan out, taking the agyan out, putting new clothes on, throw away the old clothes full of agyana, nascence. And I am giving you the worldview, the lifestyle, the way of living that is very much tuned up to what really you are, who you can be, you should be. I'm not converting you to me. I'm giving you your own true identity, what you are. Recognize it, take it, or don't take it. It's your own choice. Hey Arjun, मैंने सब ज्ञान दे दिया है, मैंने सब कुछ ज्ञान, जितने प्रश्न थे उनका सुलझाव किया, मैंने सब दे दिया है, अब ये तुम्हारी बारी है, तुम क्या करते हो? It is up to you. I do not have to give you 700 slokas. I could have said, I am the God, true God. You fight because I tell you so. He said, no, I have given it, despite giving the total Brahman Sarup, everything, for past, future, present, all the knowledge that he asked for, even more than that. He said, well, it is now your turn to decide what you want to do. It is your freedom, and this is what we have to do. Tell the other, this is the wisdom, this is the way of life. You take it or you don't take, that's your freedom. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to take up your time. You are so kind.
No, thank you so much.
Okay, we have now, actually, Kamleji has been raising physically her hand.
Okay.
So I would ask her to unmute herself and ask the question, even though actually I should have brought in Vasuki ji. So Kamleji, please unmute yourself and ask the question. And I would also request the correspondent, both the questionnaire as well as the answers, be kept a little brief.
Unmute
because,
hai.
Yeah.
Unmute nahi hai?
Unmute hai, you are unmuted.
Yeah. My question was this. Actually, in the beginning, I requested, and Ravinder ji and our very learned speaker, that we should have some kind of a gathering, you see, where we have all the knowledge here. Everybody has. But then how to find practical solution? So if 10 of us, 15 of us, 20, right? 17 was the number today. And if each of us in the beginning try to find a solution, how to transfer this knowledge, how to build identity, Hindu identity first, and how to find, to defend that identity. That is number one suggestion for the next, this is the concluding talk. The fourth should be synthesis. You see, it should be solution oriented, solution, practical, kya kar sakte hain? What I should do now, what you should be doing for your next generation. That is the one. The second thing is to figure out a strategy where we are not giving knee-jerk reaction to an attack. You know, everybody gets disturbed. Oh, he has said this thing about Hindu Dharma. You see, don't give those knee-jerk reactions, and don't give wishy-washy also, defensive. Be on the point of offensive. When they say, you know, your caste system is equal to slavery, and I made just 2 paragraphs. What Gautam Buddha said about his identity, he explained Varan Gotra, and what the British wrote in their own words what is caste and why did we introduce? It is one page. Yeah. And I actually, when I give a presentation, I flash it again and again, telling them that they put us on the defensive for that. And we have not yet been able to create just a 30-second or a 40-second answer, right? So, I suggest that kind of admission by the British and introduction by Gautam Buddha should be actually engraved on our foreheads, because we are likely to forget it every time, that this is our strength. So from the point of strength, we should be developing a strategy, how to market the ideas. You see, how to make it relevant to modern times. Why are we talking about orthodoxy or anything? No, it is not orthodox. Environmentalism is fundamental to Hindu Dharma. So make it relevant. So there should be there should be a strategy, an approach, objective, lessons, and some kind of a cohesive harmony among the intellectuals. You see, otherwise हम लोग in Hindi अपनी अपनी तूती में जाके चले जाते हैं.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit stretched for the time. So please keep it brief. We have about 3-4 more.
No, I am just suggesting simple. Flash out that flyer I sent at some point in the next talk or whenever. And second, just call out the where nobody is a speaker, just a moderator introducing, and let's come out with solutions. Can we do anything except talk?
Okay.
That's
Yeah. I should also mention that I had posted Kamleshji's action points right in the beginning of this talk.
Yeah, but
so one can look at it. So now I would.
कैसे बता रहे हैं हम? Is it coming out right?
Yeah, it's coming out.
Yeah.
Achha. Usually I put it upside down. Yeah, this is Hindu Dharma, a teaching guide, and their corresponding lessons. And this is practical, a 4-year-old child will know. So just for 1 second, that when there was the first hurricane, we came to Chesapeake and we found what hurricane is, Isabel. So I asked my 4-year-old children, grandchildren, 2 of them 4. I said, now which deva is angry with us? Hurricane. And one said Vayu Deva, one said Varuna Deva, and all sorts of things. And the third one said Indra Deva. He is the master of the entire cloud system. So there is a practical relevance to what the devas are doing. And the answer is they are loving us, giving us, but they can be angry also. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, I would ask now, Mr. Vasuki, now please unmute yourself and ask the question. Thank you.
Yeah, Professor Shiva Chaturvedi ji, बहुत संतोष हुआ आपके सुन के.
So nice.
I'm just interested right now in just one practical thing. See, first of all, India is now, Hinduism is the 3rd most practiced religion in the world, in spite of all the things.
Yeah.
India has the 3rd world's largest economy. It is time we stop this constant victim mentality, you know. Everybody got kicked around. Jews got kicked around for 2,000 years. Now they're very, very powerful. They don't keep on repeating. If we have to be strong, we have to learn from history and, counter that. So one of the things I realized that was why Hindu, Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism spread is, it's very easy to convert to that. There are websites in Islam to convert to Islam. It just takes 10 minutes. If we ask any Hindus, they will go into long lecture. Hinduism is a way of life. Everything is a way of life. But
is there a question?
In terms of number, yeah, I just had the practical question only. So I set up a website, just for anybody to convert voluntarily, right? To convert to Hinduism. And Shankaracharya, Puri Shankaracharya, he says, you should allow people to convert. Why not? There are 300 million people practicing yoga. Yoga is an essential part of Hinduism. So that way, actually, Hinduism is the fastest growing religion in the world. They may not call themselves a Hindu. So all those people can be given an avenue wherever people are. Okay, you want to call yourself Hindu? Here is this thing. And unlike other religions, we are not
Is there a question,
by
sir?
a central ruler. And anybody can convert themselves. Then you'll have a bigger number, not just only a few people, old people complaining about what happened. So it can become a powerful force all over the world. It's like nobody forced yoga anybody to.
Sir, is there a question?
Right out of its own thing. Yeah, my question is why we don't have a method to convert, and while we complain, Muslims converted, Hindu Christians converted. Why we don't have? Don't we learn from history for 300 years?
Okay, if your question is done, I will allow the Chaturvedi ji to respond.
Can we have a conversion method? No,
I fully agree with you. We do not have a system, but I think it's a time to have a system. I fully agree with you. As I mentioned, there are a lot of ex-Muslims, ex-Christians, and lot of those are leaving their own Abrahamic traditions. They want to looking for something more enlightening and truthful. So we must have a system. I fully agree with you. So we must work on it. We do not have yet, unfortunately. We must work on it. Secondly, I will request you with my folded hand. I won't want to use the word conversion. I would use the word transformation. If you want to use the English, I will not use the word conversion. Conversion.
Please let hear the answer. We don't have a lot of time. Please.
Thank you.
Okay. I will go to Maitri Tiwari ji. Please unmute yourself and ask the question. Please keep your questions brief so that the Professor Chaturvedi ji can answer the question.
Pranam sir, my name is Satyen. I'm using my daughter ID, so her name is coming up.
Okay.
My question is that the question of defining Hinduism. I've tried my humble hands at that. And I've tried to go through Ramayanas, I've tried to go through Puranas, and also tried to go through Upanishads and Vedas.
Yeah.
But the volumes and the lengthiness of all these textbooks, when I think of them, that there are so many Vedas and running into thousands of pages, then Upanishads, Aranyak, and other texts. Then we have 20 Puranas, all into 10,000 pages, each of them.
Yes.
And we have Smriti, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and a whole lot of philosophical text.
That is
so
correct.
It runs into millions of pages.
That is correct.
So under these circumstances, which text do you recommend where we can find a common denominator of Hinduism? Because I find that there is a flow, there is something which can really define this tradition in a certain way. Which are the texts which you recommend as the core text of Hinduism, which must be studied to understand Hinduism?
That's a wonderful question. That's a beautiful question. Short answer, one thing. We have not done new thinking and articulation for hundreds of years to have a meaningful, short description of what we are. That's the one thing. Okay, that we do not have yet. Okay. Second thing is, for all the questions of life, society, I'm giving a continuous talk on all the question of how to act in the world, in the family, personal life, professional life. Bhagavad Gita gives you a lot of insight. But these insights have to be developed further, okay, so that they can be simplified and custom made to different grades of students and the people with different background. They have, the Bhagavad Gita includes in a sense lot of pravritti marg and nivritti marg. How do you get a success? No matter what success you are talking about, I have given a big talk on this. The Karma Yoga Siddhant, people have not discussed in that context the Karma Siddhant. The Karma Siddhant is given so wonderfully, so beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. So I will start with Bhagavad Gita. But Bhagavad Gita, as you see, you will not be able to satisfy, okay, with different grades of understanding while you are growing up in this world. So this has to be brought out. And just for information, I'm one of those, idiots working on this particular aspect. But start with Bhagavad Gita. Very first verse, Dharma Chete Kurukshetre Mamate Vasutta. Dharma, why Dharma become Dharma Kshetra? Why it is become? Because this is how you should suppose you are talking to a second grade or first grade kid. Doesn't matter, first grade or second grade, who understand the language. How many things you do in the home? Okay, ask the person, the child, how many things you do in the home, and how many things you do in one way or the other. Suppose I do this way versus that way. What's your reaction? Suppose you do this way or that way. You will find out the child will immediately say, oh my goodness, there are more than one ways of doing, but are these all ways are the correct ways? That's the concept of Dharma Kshetra for that kid. I am doing a lot of things in the home. One way of doing things lead to more understanding, more harmony, a joyful living. Other ways of doing it may not bring the harmony. For example, when I put the plate in the dishwashing machine, for example, okay, should I drop it or should I carefully organize it? Ask this question to yourself, this very question, and that talks about dharma and adharma, dharma kshetra, adharma kshetra. These have to be brought out in front in the educational system. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Shiv Chaturvedi ji. The last question I have is from Lakshmikant Mishra ji. Please unmute yourself and ask the question. Please keep it brief.
प्रणाम
मिश्रा जी नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत नमस्कार।
सर, बहुत छोटा सा सवाल था ये कि यहाँ पर एक चिंता व्यक्त की जा रही है कि हम इस ट्रेडिशन को प्रिजर्व कैसे करें, आगे कैसे लेके जाएं, पास ऑन कैसे करें। पर इस फोरम में सभी लोग आए हैं, उनके सब 50 के ऊपर के आए हैं, एक दो आदमी को छोड़ के। अपने घर के 50 के नीचे के 30 के नीचे को साथ में लेके बैठ जाइए, अपने आप प्रिजर्व हो जाएगा। ऐसा क्यों नहीं करते हम?
आपकी बात ठीक,
कि अपने घर के अपने बच्चों को ही लेके आ जाए, अपने बेटे को लेके आ जाए, अपने चलो बेटा बैठो साथ में। ये हम खुद क्यों नहीं कर पाते? बहुत अद्भुत है। और बिल्कुल प्रश्न आपका ये क्यों नहीं कर पाते, हम आपको उसका उत्तर दे रहे हैं संक्षेप में। एक बात में इसको उत्तर दे रहे हैं 30 सेकंड में, क्योंकि हम खुद भी इस विचारधारा से अपरिचित हैं। मैं आपको बताऊं, हम खुद भी इस विचारधारा से अपरिचित हैं, और यही कारण है कि हम साथ साथ मिलके जब इस तरह की वेबिनार्स या जो बातें होती हैं या सत्संग होता है, हम घर में करते नहीं है कभी भी। आप घरों में देखिए, हम पेरेंट्स, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स से लेके और छोटे बच्चे तक सभी बैठ के कभी कोई जीवन की चर्चा करते हैं? सब अपने अपने में लगे हुए हैं, बस खा लो पी लो, और बच्चे पैदा हो गए, बच्चे अपना पढ़ गए, वही पढ़ जाओ। हम खुद ही और हमारी पुरानी जनरेशन भी इस चीज को भूल चुकी है कि वास्तव में लिविंग क्या है, ये द वैदिक वे ऑफ लिविंग क्या है, उसमें मनसा वाचा कर्मणा हम कैसे इनकलकेट करें हर एक अपने परिवार में। और ये हो जाए तो आप देखिए इस वेबिनार पे जो हम दे रहे हैं, हम ये कर रहे हैं कि भाई हम अपना 40 साल का जो मेरी यात्रा है और विभिन्न जो है कंचे दर्शनों को, विभिन्न विचारों को पढ़ के, लिख के, फिर छांट के कौन सा कहाँ एप्रोप्रिएट है. आई एम जस्ट क्रेजी. I work, at this age, I'm more than 70 years of age. I work for 16 to 18 hours a day on these things. My mind is always working, thinking, how to do, what to do. तो अगर आप सोचिए कि एक परिवार अगर वीकेंड में भी 1 घंटे मिल बैठ के इस बात की चर्चा करे, आप देखेंगे 1 साल के अंदर जो है वो उनके अंदर प्रकाश पैदा होगा और वो दूसरों को प्रकाशित कर सकेंगे. आपकी बिल्कुल बात पूरी तरह से. हम खुद ही अनभिज्ञ हैं, हम खुद ही अंदर निष्ठा नहीं है. वी आर नॉट कमिटेड. किसको निष्ठा है, हम बताएं आपको किसको निष्ठा है. निष्ठा है जो है कि जो टेररिस्ट हैं उनसे हम सीख सकते हैं. करेक्ट, ठीक है ना. टेररिस्ट उनका एक ही उद्देश्य, उनकी एक ही निष्ठा है, हम मर जाएं लेकिन हम दूसरों को मारेंगे. करेक्ट, समझे आप. तो जब ये निष्ठावान मानव हो जाता है, इसीलिए हमारा देव और दैत्य दोनों भाई हैं, कजिन्स. तो देव भी दैत्यों से सीख सकते हैं और दैत्य तो देवों को सीखना ही चाहिए. तो ये निष्ठा की बात है. उनकी 5 बार प्रेयर होती है कि नहीं होती. इस्लाम में 5 बार प्रेयर है. वो 12 बजे वो सड़क पे बैठ जाएंगे, प्रेयर करने लगेंगे, है ना. हम अपने घर में नहीं करते प्रेयर. तो ये हमारी समस्या ये है कि हम सिर्फ जो है आसमान में घूम, हमारे यहाँ ये था, हमारे यहाँ ये था, हमारे यहाँ ये है, हमारे यहाँ वो है. अरे भाई, था तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, लेकिन उसको लेके आगे बढ़ो. हम अपने अंदर, हमारे यहाँ तो ये कहा गया है कि मानव अपने अंदर उस प्रकाश पुंज को प्रकाशित करे जिससे कि समाज प्रकाशित हो, राष्ट्र प्रकाशित हो और भगवत स्वरूप आपके अंदर प्रकट हो जाए. ये जो है हम जो, तो ये हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है. हम सबसे यही रिक्वेस्ट करते रहते हैं, सबको लाओ, जितने घर में हैं सब सुने. जरूरी नहीं आप तुरंत एकदम आपकी समझ में आ जाएगा, फॉलो करने लगेंगे, लेकिन सुनना, श्रवण करना, श्रवण कीजिए, स्वाध्याय करना. अगर आप खुद नहीं पढ़ सकते, स्वाध्याय करना, श्रवण करना, दिस इज द वेरी फर्स्ट स्टेप. इन द क्लासरूम आई डू दैट, आई से नो. You have to read, you have to contemplate, you have to think through before you come prepared. I have earned the knowledge. And then you apply. If you don't apply, you forget what you have learned. So manasa, vacha, karmana, every one of us have to do it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
I bow down to all of you.
Thank you very much, Shiv Chaturvedi ji. Excellent talk. And as usual, these go about run for about 2 hours. And so now I would request everyone. I will thank you and they say pranam to everyone who have patiently listened to it. And so we would conclude the session with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. सभी को प्रणाम, सभी को आदर, सभी को प्रणाम, सभी को समस्त चराचर जगत को प्रणाम, सभी चराचर जगत को प्रणाम, सभी जो है जीवों को प्रणाम, सभी मानवों को प्रणाम.